talked a lot about how the PlayStation 4 has had an incredible lineup of exclusives, and 2018 has really been a banner year for the console, and that's what we're taking a look at in this video. Specifically, we're looking at the top 10 PlayStation 4 exclusives of 2018 so far. Now, some of these are console exclusives, so they do appear on PC, but as far as just console speaking, all of these games are only available on the PlayStation 4. Some of them, even if you include PC, of course, they're only available on the PS4 as well. So without further ado, let's get right into it, and let's just start off with the biggest games. First up, of course, God of War. God of War was one of the highly anticipated PlayStation 4 exclusives of this entire generation, the latest game by Sony Santa Monica Studio, and the latest entry in the long-running God of War franchise, but this one was a little bit different. Instead of Greek mythology, they moved to Norse mythology. Kratos is a little bit older now, he's got a son, and this game was the change of pace that God of War needed. It was a little bit more slower, a little bit more methodical, but it was a gameplay design that really made God of War feel fresh, and it really reinvented the series. Most people will agree with me in saying that this God of War title is head and shoulders above the past titles. The past titles were good, but this game is just on another level, and Sony Santa Monica have really started to hit their stride. Of course, we're going to be seeing more games. This title does end on quite a bit of a cliffhanger, so I'm sure we'll be getting a God of War 2, probably a God of War 3. Who knows if that'll be a PlayStation 4 game? More likely than not, God of War 2 will be a PS5 game, but if you've yet to play 2018's God of War title, you should really remedy that ASAP. God of War was one of the most anticipated PlayStation 4 games of 2018, and I say one of because Marvel's Spider-Man was right up there with it, and that's why it's number 2. Finally got that high-quality Spider-Man game we were asking for so long. Yes, we got good Spider-Man games, but none of them were truly great. Marvel Spider-Man by Insomniac Studio is a truly great game. Is it perfect? No. There are some issues with it, a little bit of repetition here and there, but for the most part, this game knocks it out of the park, and Insomniac has set a great foundation for future games to come. What they got right was the web slinging. That was awesome. The combat feels great. If you're a fan of Spider-Man, even better, you're gonna love this game even more, but if you just want a quality open-world action-adventure game, that's what you're getting out of Marvel Spider-Man, and it's an absolute must-buy. Next up, we have Shadow of the Colossus. Now, Shadow of the Colossus was, of course, originally a PlayStation 2 title, but this version of the game is a ground-up remake for the PlayStation 4. Bluepoint Studios did a tremendous job with Shadow of the Colossus, and the real issue with Shadow of the Colossus back on the PS2 was from a technical side. Now, with the power of the PlayStation 4, those limitations have obviously been removed, and you're getting Shadow of the Colossus in its best form possible, and this game still looks incredible. It's still pretty breathtaking, and given the fact it was released at a budget price, and now you can get it even cheaper. Even if you played the game back on the PS2, it is worth revisiting on the PS4 because that's how good of a remake it is. Next up, we've got Yakuza VI, The Song of Life. Yakuza is a franchise that's been making waves over here stateside, and that's why we've got 2 games on this list. The second one is to come, but the first title that was released this year was Yakuza VI, The Song of Life, the game that really capped off the story of the main character, and it did a great job. This is Yakuza at its best. The gameplay really fleshed out, and there is so much content to Yakuza 6. Now, if you haven't played the other Yakuza games, I think there are better places to start. Give a look to Yakuza 0, then check out Yakuza Kiwami. You could play through the games chronologically, but at some point, if you just want to jump into Yakuza 6, you can do so. I would just say start with Yakuza 0, give Yakuza Kiwami a look, and after you've got a feel for Yakuza, then give Yakuza 6 a go. And as I mentioned, we had 2 Yakuza releases this year because the series is just making moves over here in the West. We also had the release of Yakuza Kiwami 2. Yakuza Kiwami 2 is a remake of Yakuza 2, which many would consider to be one of the best games in the series, and this one also has a great story, has that great zany Yakuza gameplay, and pretty much what I said about Yakuza 6 falls true for Yakuza Kiwami 2 as well. The only thing that turned me off a little bit from Kiwami 2 was the price point. It was released at $49.99. The first Yakuza Kiwami was released at $29.99. I would say the game is worth $50, but going from $30 to $50, I mean, how can I not be disappointed by that? But the game is still of very high quality, so I'll let it slide. Next up, we have the latest game from the guys over at Quantic Dream, and that is Detroit Become Human. Quantic Dreams are the guys that also put out Beyond Two Souls and Heavy Rain. Heavy Rain I thought was very good. Beyond Two Souls was a little weird for my taste, but Detroit Become Human, I will say, is a very, very good game. Follows a similar style, a very thematic game that fleshes out its characters very, very well. It is light on the gameplay, so go into it expecting a very story-oriented experience. If you've played previous Quantic Dreams games before, this will be right up your alley. You know what you're getting here, and what you're getting is a very mature, very well-told story. Next up, we have Dragon Quest XI Echoes of an Elusive Age. JRPGs have also been a talking point this generation. There have been so many great JRPGs, and Dragon Quest XI adds to that library because it is a fantastic traditional JRPG that also feels a bit modern. A lot of JRPGs these days are moving to more action-oriented combat. We saw that with Final Fantasy 15, that's a super fast-paced game, but Square Enix's other major JRPG franchise, Dragon Quest, that has decided to stick to its traditional formula, and it works out very well. Even if you're not a a big fan of the turn-based gameplay, I thought it was done well enough where it still felt engaging to a modern audience. Because I'll be honest, at this point in 2018, the turn-based style of gameplay is not my favorite, but I still found Dragon Quest XI a very enjoyable game, and you've got a great story with a great cast of characters that are all fleshed out, all have their unique stories, and the overarching story is very good as well, and this is a very, very lengthy experience. Expect to spend around 60 hours with it at the minimum. So if you're planning to get into this one, make sure you clear up your backlog just a little bit. Next up, we have Zone of the Enders, the second runner, Mars. Yeah, Zone of the Enders came to the PlayStation 4 in the form of a Zone of the Enders 2 remaster with Zone of the Enders, the second runner, Mars. This is a very well done remaster, and it was released at a great price. Unlike a lot of remasters that are priced a little too highly, like Dragon's Crown Pro, love that game, but a $49.99 price tag was a little high. Zone of the Enders, the second runner, Mars came in at $29.99, and that was very nice, and the remaster is very good. It's got a VR component, it runs at 4K, a lot of good in Zone of the Enders, the second runner, and the game itself is already very good, so it's not too much of a hard sell. The only issue is it came out right around the time as Dragon Quest XI and Marvel Spider-Man, and those games are just going to take precedence over Zone of the Enders. Do give Zone of the Enders, the second runner, Mars a look, because I would love to see a third game come out at some point, and we did hear if this game sells well, there is possibility for a brand new entry. Next up, we have Ninokuni 2 Revenant Kingdom. So I mentioned how JRPGs are making a huge impact this generation. Well, another one that was released this year is Ninokuni 2 Revenant Kingdom, the follow-up to Ninokuni Wrath of the White Witch. However, you can go into Revenant Kingdom without playing that game just fine. It is its own story about a king that's trying to reclaim his throne. It's a very good story. However, I wouldn't say that Ninokuni 2 is quite as good of a game as the first title, and that's because I thought so highly of the first game. The second game is still very, very good. That's why it's on this list. There's a lot of content to it. I did think some of the side content was a little mundane. However, the main story was very good. It still got that great art style. And as far as JRPGs for newcomers to the genre, I would put Ninokuni 2 up there with the best of them. I feel like this is a very engaging game even to a Western audience. It's a very relatable story. Cast of characters are very quirky and likable, and it doesn't have your typical JRPG tropes. So for those of you, I would definitely give Ninokuni 2 Revenant Kingdom a recommendation. If you've been into JRPGs as well, give it a look. There's a ton to like. And speaking of JRPGs, we're going to be rounding it out with a lesser JRPG, however, one that I still thought was quite good, and that is Digimon Story CyberSleuth Hacker's Memory. For a while, we weren't seeing a lot of great Digimon games, but that changed in a big way. We got Digimon Story CyberSleuth, we got this title in Digimon Story CyberSleuth Hacker's Memory, and we have Digimon Survive releasing in 2019. That game looks awesome, but that's 2019. Let's talk about Digimon Story CyberSleuth Hacker's Memory, which was the second title in the Digimon Story franchise. It did take a lot from the first title, a lot of reused environments, so that is a little bit disappointing. However, they did obviously add a lot of new Digimon, and the story itself is very good. I know Digimon is compared often to Pokemon, and while these games pale in comparison as far as mainstream appeal compared to Pokemon, these games' stories are very good, and in my opinion, way better than the Pokemon offering, so it does have that going for it. If you're a fan of Digimon, or you just want a quality turn-based JRPG with that monster collecting element, this is going to be one that you'll enjoy. If you played the first title, just know that there are a lot of reused elements, which is a little disappointing, but still a very enjoyable game. So that's going to conclude this video, the top 10 best PlayStation 4 exclusives of 2018 so far. What do you think? Which of these games have been your favorite? Of course, we still have a couple of PS4 exclusives for the rest of the year, and we decided not to include any VR titles in this list as well. So games like Firewall Zero Hour, while that game was very good, we decided to leave that off the list. And we've got games like Tetris Effect coming out, so a great time to own a PS4, a lot of excellent titles, and we want to hear from you. Sound off with all of your thoughts in the comment section down below. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.
In the same day! And what do you think they all had in common? That menace in tights, Spiderman.
Hey, fellas. Well, did you think that maybe he was trying to help? It feels like there's more and more crime. Take back my freedom and decide who I want it to be. Now, I have come to tell you that you can be your own masters. I've come to tell you that
Mimosi and Joe Hisaishi comes an RPG for a new generation. So build a kingdom.